Hello and welcome to Portia Raw and Real, the podcast conversation that we have after the more formal TV conversation. Here it gets a little more raw and real, and we love to bring back the guests who made us go, man, we wish we had more time. Which honestly, right, it's every conversation, but there's some where you just got to keep going. And today, of course, that was with my dear brother. I have been a fan for years. He didn't even know I was fangirling the whole show as I played it off. Headcrack, radio, TV, just media, entertainment host. You have done it all.
Because you have to.
You have to.
Everything's expensive.
Especially with these kids.
Almond milk ain't cheap.
No, almond milk ain't cheap. That's the quote of the day. We can just stop it right there. Almond milk ain't cheap. Listen, man, it is so good to have you. Thank you for your time on the show.
Me.
Yes, indeed. You all have to go catch that episode. You got to go to PortiaShow.com and look. Just keep scrolling till you see Head, or just Google Portia Bruner and Headcrack because it's gonna pop up because that was a good conversation.
Well, thank you so much for having the combo with me.
Yes, indeed. I love that your story starts as this kid who was like a battle rapper, like genius battle rapper. But before we get to that story, the name Headcrack, where did that come from?
All right, so.
I love it because he's from the Bronx.
Boogie down, BX, stand
yes,
up.
Indeed.
So when I was young, I would not necessarily have all of the resources that some of my friends had because my friends were actually older. Like my parents finagled me to go to school a year earlier than I was supposed to.
Oh yeah.
So like
I did that with my son too. It's because we knew you were going to be great.
Yeah, you figure it out. And if I would.
But you come up short a little bit because we also forced you in early. Yeah.
You know, but it made me. I was one of the people. I caught up. I stayed up.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, indeed.
And so when my friends were starting to get like summer jobs and things like that, I couldn't. So what I would do is I would take my lunch money from school and I would gamble with it. So there's a dice game called CeeLo, and whenever you roll a 4, 5, 6, you yell Headcrack when you win.
And you must have been winning.
I was winning a lot. And especially because when I moved from New York to Texas, those white kids didn't know anything about the games I was playing, and we made the rules up as we went. So I was like I was like the Floyd Mayweather of shooting dice. I'm 50-0. Like,
right.
oh man.
They're like, who is this kid?
You rolled an 11. You lost. Anybody who knows dice knows that you definitely won, but you know.
Wow.
So I just use it because I took that money to not only buy clothes for myself, but also buy the music that I wanted to buy. Because back then CDs were like $20 and some change.
Yeah.
You know, every time they drop it, new music was dropping every Tuesday.
And you loved music.
I loved it with my whole heart.
That's how this started for you, was loving music, and you grew up listening. We are from the golden era of hip hop.
Yes.
The 90s. And so of course you wanted to buy music and you wanted to hear it. But when did you realize that you could rap? Like it's one thing to be able to rap in the shower, but to call up a radio station, like put him on the phone, put him on the line. I want to rap him. I want to battle rap him.
I think it was 7th grade where it really came together.
Wow.
Because before that, I was more like the beatbox. Or like the homie that was just kind of like, like rap adjacent. Yeah. So when I was I was going to Christ the King in the Bronx at the time. And it was like the end of that school year, they was getting ready to have a talent show. And I was already writing rhymes and working on stuff with my own, because like the Bronx in like the 90s, the early 90s was dangerous. So this year I'm living with my grandmother. My grandmother's like, yeah, I don't want you going outside. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to go outside either. So, so I'm just sitting in the house writing rhymes over instrumentals, and then like there was another kid whose parents also wouldn't let him go outside, who lived 4 floors below me. His name was Hassan. And so I lived in 6C, he lived in 2C. So we both went to the same school. We both lived in the same actual unit, but 4 floors below. Right. So I could just stick my head out the window. Yo, Haas,
hey,
what you working on? and so we started like rhyming together.
I can completely visualize that.
Yeah.
I can really see that. So you go from calling into radio stations, talking trash, and everybody getting right? And then you going in to claim the prize, but they got tired of sending you the prize, right?
Yeah.
So they were like, you come and get it.
Yeah.
But I think that's where the first teachable moment is for your career, is you took the shot. You didn't just take the prize and leave. You were like, what else can I learn? What else can I do?
I mean, I'm always trying to look at stuff and try to improve on the original design. Because when I was first hearing the station do this thing called the roll call, and this is 100.3 Jams in Dallas at the time, I was like, yeah, it's fun that people call in and saying what school they go to, but what if we all dissed each other? You know what I'm saying? Let's make it dangerous. You know what I mean? So like I would strategically start calling up, and I would like, especially if I went second, I would diss the person that went before you because they couldn't reply.
Right.
Because you only get one time to rap, and then I would diss the person that goes after me who probably already had whatever they had going on.
Right.
They wasn't going to be ready to pivot.
Right.
Like,
right.
You know,
right.
I say something that's arable, the next person that raps is going to be terrible. And then they start coming in with their thing.
Right.
And they can't dig their way out of that because you literally get like 6 bars or something like that to rhyme. So
that is amazing. And I think, you know, because I love hip hop, I think the art of it, you know, people don't understand that this is poetry. Mm-hmm. Not everybody, right? Especially because it's changed and it's different. And we could do the whole, when I was coming up, hip hop was such and such and so and so. So yeah, it's not to criticize what it sounds like now, but a child's ability, right? Because you were a kid, the ability to do that and take modern day poetry and make it amazing and combative and fun is just such a gift. I have to imagine your grandma was proud.
My grandmother was proud, but like one thing I can say about my family is they always enabled me to be whatever I wanted to be. You know, because like I wasn't a person who brought trouble home to my doorstep.
Yeah.
Not saying that I was a squeaky clean kid.
Right.
But I never put nobody in a position where they had to bail me out of jail.
Right, they had to come, they was getting a call and, you know, you need to come get Headcrack. There was none of that.
None of that. So they always, you know, like whatever I wanted to do, they knew like, oh, he's gonna do that thing. Let's help him out. So my grandmother loved it, my dad always loved it, my mom was always, you know, involved. So it was always great.
Yeah, I love, one of the many things about your career that I have enjoyed, and you talk about this, is having gone from growing up listening to some of the classics to working right next to the classics.
Yeah.
What was that like for you to make that that transition from fan to fellow artist and entertainment host?
There was many times where I had to like make sure I wasn't dead. Because I couldn't believe some of the things that were happening. Like when I think in the next 10 years, once I figure out how I want to tell my story, I literally could do a hip hop Forrest Gump.
Oh, tell me more. I mean, without giving it away, right? Because that sounds really good.
I mean, like I legit found myself in some really interesting situations where like if I repeat it back, you would think I was lying, but I do have proof to document most of the things I'm talking about. Like the very first rapper I met was Biz Markie. God bless the dead.
Wow, yeah.
It was in New York at the Jacob Javits Center. They had this thing called Nintendo Power Fest.
Okay.
And there was the same year they came out with the Nintendo Power Pad. And Biz Markie was legit playing people on the Nintendo Power Pad. So I went up and I ran against him. And he won because nobody beats the Biz.
Nobody beats the Biz, right?
Man, I love you. I love you. You know your stuff. Like most people that have flew right over their head like a
hey man, I'ma catch it.
Yo,
if it's him, I'ma catch it.
So you know, so we have that, and I was definitely running faster than Biz Markie. Like, but he somehow won, and he signed he autographed my tape, and it was a bootleg at that, and he still autographed it, and like.
I love that he signed the bootleg. Because that was one of the wonderful things about the purity of hip hop, is that when you noticed that somebody loved your work, you didn't care how they got it, right? Because that meant they were playing it. If it wasn't getting airplay, especially, that just meant somebody was listening to it and appreciating it. But your connections are like that as well. The way you connect with people, your listeners, your audience. Let's talk about your transition from radio to. I mean, you ended up in A&R. Like, you love the business of radio, too. This isn't just entertainment.
Well, you know, I wouldn't say I love the business of radio because radio has changed from what it was when I first came in. You know, like before there was like so many different companies and the jocks had power to really shift the narrative of the sound of the city. Yeah. And then as it became more corporate and you have like one person making decisions for an entire country or like half of a country, it became very like, you know, cookie cutter. Like you can go to any city and you can't tell where you are based off of the way the radio sounds. Because it all sounds the same.
Right.
You know? So it was fun when it was fun, but then when it got weird and corporate and people started using more research and not gut instinct and heart, it became not fun. And I always wanted to raise the vibrations of the people and and find new stars and put people on. You know what I mean? Like you could walk the earth twice and you can never find somebody who says, I paid Headcrack to play a song and he played that song. Like nah, like
that's so important.
When I found music, if I liked it, it was good. when we had the freedom to just play whatever we wanted,
Right.
I would get it on because only thing people need is an opportunity to be great.
Yeah.
And if I could be that person that can let you be great and open that, that door for you.
Just opening a door, right?
Yeah.
Because if you have it, the platform that God gives us, we're supposed to share it, right?
Yeah, it's not supposed to be all for you. Like, God give you a gift so you can share your gift with others.
I got to give you a shout out because on the show, one of the things that you did was you poured into two young ladies who also want to be entertainment hosts. And so that speaks to not just what you say, but what you do. Mm-hmm. You are living this. One of the other things that you are living, I feel like, is a real sense of honesty about mental health and recognizing when you're going to walk away from something. We all know that you, without hesitation or reservation, will walk away from an opportunity when you feel like it's no longer serving you. Mm-hmm. That takes courage, especially when you're walking away from money that comes with it. I want to just share something that I read that you said about reinventing yourself. And where was that? I walk away from money because I realized I didn't need everything I want as long as I have what I need. Speak to what it takes to walk away when everybody's like, that's a good job. What you walking away from that for?
I mean, like, hey, I think, to bring it down to a level where, like, even, like, the Marvel fans could understand.
Mm-hmm. Or the Transformer fans.
Well, you remember when Thanos said, but at what cost? He got what he wanted, but what did it cost him to get those things? So, people can give you all the money in the world, but if your brain broke and you walking around with your fist ball, like Arthur in that meme, at what cost did you get all these things? So, at the end of the day, like, I've carved out enough of a niche for my... Oh, you know what I was talking about,
I just saw Arthur in the meme. Go ahead.
So, I've carved up enough of a space to where, like, if I ever wanted to return to radio, I should be in a good space where I can do it.
Yeah.
But I feel like I've kind of outgrown that format. Like, what else is there for me to do in that space? I gave it I had a very fast-tracked experience in that realm.
You did. Your first job was awesome, and every job since has been awesome. There haven't really been any duds.
I was like in the 4th or 5th market in the country doing nights. First radio gig. Yeah. Then got to be on a syndicated morning show. Then I got my own show. And I say that in air quotes because it wasn't really my show. There was some people pulling the strings. But anyway,
I understand.
But like I got to do all that stuff. Yeah. And I only want to do it again for the people. Because I run into people all the time. It's like, yo, we miss your optimism in the morning. Yo, I miss you and Brat freestyling in the morning on the radio. So like, I mean, I miss that part. I don't miss the business and bureaucracy that comes with the business. Yeah. Because anytime something makes money, it gets complicated. Yeah. And especially when people are getting money because of the things you do, it gets even more complicated. Yeah. Because it's like, like this same person that's like yelling at this person is getting yelled at by another person. So like sometimes I can remove myself from a situation and be like, why are these people moving this way?
And why am I entangled in it if this is not bringing joy anymore and keeping the vibrations high, which is something that it runs is a theme for you. It also seems like you got some freedom, right? You talked in the show about getting to take your children to school. Welcome to the carpool lane, right? Going on vacations and cruises, being a father and a husband in a more present way. Not that you weren't before, I don't want to suggest that. What was it like to get to have that kind of family time?
I mean, it was dope, man. Like, and I liken it also to the pandemic, right? When everybody had to like kind of stop what they were doing and be a little bit more stationary, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So I got to like experience one of my kids' first year of school remote. Like, it's your kindergarten, but you're doing kindergarten from home. Yeah. And that was interesting.
Kindergarten virtually, that's rough.
And now you're in kindergarten.
Right, and now you're back on these sight words virtually, right?
Because you got to help out too. Yeah. But, like, I just want to have all those memories. And I don't ever want, my kids' memories of me to be like, I don't remember him being around. He was always coming and going. Yeah. So, like, that's one thing I liked about the pandemic is the fact that, like, hey, it made everybody be around more. And then even with this last year and a half or so, I've been able to, be more present, take kids and stuff, during the day. So that part.
I love that for you and this season of your life because it feels like you really are getting to have that example of having it all, but on your terms and in your authentic way, right? Is that honest.
It is honest.
Feels like that's what it is.
Because even going to the other quote, I got what I needed. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody, anytime you do a gig, whatever you do, you should use that as a vehicle to get to where you're trying to go next.
Yeah. You said something about being be able to be every instrument in the band, or know what instrument you can play in the band and play it.
Yeah,
right?
Because even when you think about the dynamics of like the night show I was on, I was kind of like the straight guy on the night show, right? Where like, okay, these two guys are like making all the funny jokes.
Yeah, they're the hands.
But I'm keeping us on time and like, and reading the copy well and all that stuff. Then on Ricky's show, I was running the boards, but I also was the communicator between people who may not have been talking to each other at that time and all that other stuff, and having to be the peacemaker, but also the sniper who will say like that one funny line.
Right. And shut everybody down. Like, oh, don't forget he's got jokes.
Yeah. And then in the More Than Hustle dynamic, it was like, you literally had to play the kazoo, the oboe, the tambourine.
Not the oboe.
People sleep on the oboe, man.
What are you talking about? We're not even going to get to the oboe, sleep on the oboe. Listen, I've got to ask you this, because you talked about one of the roles that you played was as a peacekeeper with folks who sometimes were squabbling, right? I would love to hear what you would think, what you think, but what you would say to Drake and Kendrick Lamar.
Get on the phone. I feel like most conversations, most issues that people have with each other is because people can't get on the phone
How
with each
did
other.
this fall apart so bad? Like, I am so irritated with watching this whole thing unfold, because I'm like, you two are old enough to know better. This isn't even, Well,
I think with that, right, it's not a situation like the Tupac and Biggie thing.
Right.
Like Drake isn't going to go punch Kendrick Lamar because Drake will break his hand. He's made of brittle, apparently. And then the Kendrick Lamar ain't going to ride on, because he's not that kind of guy.
Right.
So for Kendrick,
but I'm like, why are you guys going out of it like Cannabis and LL Cool J on some Ghostface stuff? Like, what are you? And you're going after like women now, and I hate the women that you love, and it felt like it was so much vitriol between two black men who were both doing well.
Yeah, it was the most personal rap battle in history. Like, you've never seen anything like that before, where like when Kendrick dropped Meet the Grams and was like, yo, first I'm gonna talk to your mama, then I'm gonna talk to your dad, and then I'm gonna talk to your unborn kid, and then like, like, whoa!
Right, and like as a hip hop fan, I'm like, wow, this is deep. But as a mom and as a black woman who's tired of that level, like for the performative and entertainment purposes, right? Okay. But for that, it just got so personal, and it just felt like, how do we get back from that? And what lesson is it teaching other artists?
Well, I definitely think it teaches other artists that you can keep it on wax and intellectual and push the bounds of creativity in what you do. But I think the real lesson is yet to be learned. And if at the end of all of this, if at some point them two can come together and then do something together, unify the kingdoms again.
Yeah.
That'll be the real thing. And that's not something that you get to see. And I think people overlooked the greatness of J. Cole's stance in this.
Right.
Because
he's the unsung hero in all of this.
Yeah, and people in hip hop are used to hearing everything except the word sorry.
Sorry. I'm just gonna moonwalk out of this
church
and
finger.
Let these two, take the church finger and slide on out of here and let these two young men have at it. I'm trying to edit myself because it really is frustrating. Okay, listen, we've only got a couple of minutes left, so I got to bring it back to you, but I had to get your take on that because I'd love to hear you have that conversation.
I'm glad you cared about that. Like, I told you this on the other show. Like, when I watched you on the news, I was like, she one of us. Like, I knew. And
the corny girl from Denver is, yes,
as
indeed,
advertised, you one of us, yo. She like us.
I love it. We've got just a couple of minutes left. I would like you to make the case, the way you did in the show, about how important it is for all of us, but particularly men who are listening, and particularly black men who are still struggling with saying, I've got something on my heart.
Okay.
Go.
Listen, I know a lot of times as men, we are like, deputized at having to be the strongest people in the room at all times. It is okay to say I need help. It is okay to say I'm not okay. Yes. It is okay to say I am scared, because there's a lot of scary things going on in the world we live in real time. I mean, like, I think we're going to be in the Bible
You think we're heading towards Revelations? Like
No,
we're
no, no,
last chapter?
No,
like
I
that
think-
kind?
no,
Okay.
No, I think this generation is going to be in the Bible.
Okay. Like you think we're going to come back to? Okay, gotcha. I was like, you think we're at the end of time?
The book of Keith. I don't know. Like something like we gonna be in the Bible. Like we've been through some things, man.
That's Old Testament or New? Got it. Keep going.
It's like current Testament. I don't
Right.
know. Like
the book according to Headcrack.
yeah, like so it is okay. Like the biggest takeaway for me in my last ayahuasca retreat.
Yes.
Was
And real quick for folks who aren't familiar with that, right?
Mm-hmm.
What happens in those spaces?
whatever needs to happen to you. Like my experience.
That is so
your
good and
experience.
vague.
I know, right?
Can you give me an example
Okay.
of something that was transformative for you?
Okay, so the Cliff Notes version, ayahuasca is a centuries-old medicine from South America, right? It's a tea that you drink, and if you're dealing with PTSD, you're having issues, self-doubt, you want to talk to your ancestors, get God on the hotline. All that stuff, whatever needs to happen for you will happen for you under the ceremony. So after my 11th ceremony, because like you go on a retreat, you do 3 ceremonies per retreat.
Okay.
The number is odd because I slept through one of them.
You're honest.
Yeah, so
You were in a different space through one of them.
my soul was tired. Like after that one, I was like, I have nothing else to give. I'll see you at the last one. So anyway, at the last one, I went to. I used to have a hard time telling people, hey, I need help. And that's what the medicine wanted to teach me. Like, because I drank the tea and nothing was happening. Then like a gentleman who came down with me on the retreat, he hit this tuning fork. And then all of a sudden, my brain like locked in and started reading everything in binary code. But you know how binary code is numbers?
Yeah.
I started reading images as binary code. It was crazy. It was information.
How long does the tea last? Asking for a friend.
It lasts. It lasts for a few hours.
Really?
But the most intense thing of it is like, plants are living.
Yeah, they are.
Food is living if you're eating raw living food. So what with ayahuasca as a medicine does is it activates everything inside of your body and spirit. And it throws your antenna and your pineal gland way open, so you're receiving all the information that you need to receive at that time. So I know we're running out of time, we will hurry up. I was seeing every color available after that last ceremony. And it's like, oh, I'm dying. This is what you see when you die.
Or does it feel like a really good meditative sitting where you're like, I feel like, you said no.
Typically,
I'm trying to make it a meditative sitting. You said that's not.
Typically it does, but the lesson I needed to learn in my last ceremony is like, I'm gonna make you suffer till you ask somebody for help.
Oh, and then you had to say,
I was like, hey,
pick me.
Someone hug me, please. Somebody hug me. Tell me I'm okay. Tell me I'm gonna be okay.
You are more than okay, brother.
Thank you.
You are
I know
amazing.
Thank you, Queen.
You are amazing. And
I
I thank you for helping us change the narrative just in the work that you do.
Thank you.
And for being authentic and real in every space that you have worked in.
Well, I boomerang those same sentiments back to you because like, your light shines through the TV screen. And you have no idea how many people you're reaching with the things you do, with the things you say, the way you project yourself and the way you shine. And I was saying this to the young ladies, like, sometimes we feel like we're not where we need to be, but we're way further than we think we are.
Right, and God has you exactly where you're supposed to be. If you're following God's will and listening for the discernment, right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I wish we had an hour. But you'll come back in season 3?
Anytime you want. Like,
Okay.
I'm on speed dial, just holler at me.
We'll make sure that happens. I thank you.
I thank you.
Quickly tell folks where they can find you where they can find Microdose and where they can find you on social media.
I'm so easy to find, Headkrack. That's on all social media, including MySpace.
With the K. You did not go back to MySpace.
Some people just
with
got
a
out of
K.
jail. I'm trying to log in.
With a K. With the K.
Headcrack with a K.
Yes, indeed. I love you, brother.
Love you too.
For real, for real, for real. Thank you so much for tuning in to Portia, Raw and Real. Be sure to go check out the episode. Go to PortiaShow.com. Look for Headcrack. Great conversation. And he's coming back in season 3. He said it. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.